All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is City Councilor Todd Kovas. This is the 13th of these video conferences, Attleboro coronavirus video conferences. We've been doing them weekly for 13 weeks now. And this week we're focusing on some of the local businesses here in Attleboro and how the coronavirus has impacted them and what they're doing as we start to reopen and business starts to pick up again. So this week, first we'll hear from Chief Hagney, then Senator Paul Feeney, Rep Hawkins, and then the local businesses, and then Heather Parika talking about the farmers market. And as always, we'll close it up with Steve Withers Jr. talking about Attleboro Public Schools. So first and foremost, let's start off with Chief Hagney. Chief, I know I reached out to you about an hour or so ago, but all over the news, we've been hearing about protests across the country and things that have been happening. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Attleboro Police and our preparedness. I know you and I had a conversation last week where you were talking about something like that would never happen in Attleboro because of the training. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you, Todd. Hello, everyone. It's kind of a sad week in law enforcement with the tragic event that happened in Minneapolis, and it's absolutely deplorable. The action and inaction by those officers just simply distasteful. Every organization, law enforcement organization, police chiefs organization that I am a member of, affiliated with, has denounced those actions, and I just feel horrible for Mr. Floyd's family, the tragic loss. So nevertheless, the other night I did make mention of the incident, and I alluded to training, but within the last hour that we spoke, I was more or less thinking in more broader context about that incident and what we do in Attleboro and our outlook, our goals, and three things came to mind about prevention of that incident. More or less, why would it happen? And the first pillar would be hiring the right people, getting the right people through the door, vetting the wrong people out. Policing, law enforcement service, I believe, is a calling. It's not for everyone. It's for the right person. Some people take it for the wrong reasons, meaning take the job or seek the opportunity to become a police officer. It's becoming ever more complex. It's certainly different now than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's different than when my father policed the streets in Attleboro and his uncle policed the streets in Attleboro back into the late 30s, early 40s. The second pillar would be training. Training is more important now than it ever has been in policing. And I've made mention to the city council last week that if there's one line item in the police department budget that I could not bear to see a cut, would be police training. And what we saw in Minneapolis certainly appears that to be restated again. So, and the third is the culture. The culture of any organization, but especially a PD, starts at the top. It sets the standards. It's certainly the norms. If the norms are set correctly, the acceptable behavior will become positive peer pressure, positive to do the right thing and speak up, point out, notify, and not accept the wrong things. So I believe police perhaps are the only lawful entity in any government that can use force, minimum force necessary to compel compliance and bring people into custody and take away their liberty. It's a delicate subject now than it ever has, but it's got to be reinforced by policy, procedure, oversight, and the police obviously need the police themselves, but the public are the police and the police are the public. We cannot do it illegitimately. And what we saw this week was definitely illegitimate means. So, as Mr. Conti would say, that concludes my comments.
I'd like to make a comment. I think one of the first things I learned about your department was with the POP team, and the importance you put on helping people, not just arresting people, but finding ways to help them and solve their problems, which I don't think a lot of people realize that's the third thing you talked about is the culture. And what I've seen of the people in your department and the things that you consider important, that's absolutely true. And you're doing a very good job of that.
I appreciate it, Jim. And I appreciate you coming to our ComStat meetings every week, because you see it firsthand on what our culture is in getting to root causes of problems before we have to make arrests. And it's all about prevention and helping. And if we're going to a call and there's an arrest made, in my eyes, that's a failure, because we didn't prevent the incident or the reoccurrence of going to those calls in the first place. So a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and it was definitely a paradigm shift in our police department, because most police departments are traditional type of style police departments, respond to 911 calls, get back in service to go right back to the next call. So thank you for acknowledging that, sir.
Well, I see your officers at the drop-in center for addiction. So that's not what most people think you do, but that seems to be an important part of your program. So thank you.
Thank you. And by means, we're not perfect. We don't fly around with a cape and a big S on our chest and tights. And, we do make mistakes. We learn from them, and we use them as future guideposts. But I'm very proud of the men and women of this police department. I steer the ship. They make it go. So they do a tremendous job under some very difficult circumstances.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. And by the way, happy birthday. Now that we're public.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on. And
Todd, is the card in the mail?
It's Sunday.
There's a piece of the birthday cake on your collar there.
And feel free to jump off. I won't at all be offended. Thanks for joining on such short notice.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Next up, we have Senator Feeney. Paul, welcome. Number 13.
Councilor Cobus, 13 in a row. How about that?
Yeah.
Man, oh man. This is every week is something different. And what an incredible week this has been. Obviously, there's, when we started this, we started to talk about how there was a lot of pain out there from folks that were, dealing with COVID-19, and then having to deal with the loss of family members, and having to deal with family members that may have been in a hospital or a nursing home and they couldn't be there with them to hold their hand. And then we started to see the economic impact that this had, and to have the businesses, and to see all these, local businesses that are on this call tonight, and to see their faces and know, so much of the pain that they've been going through now for the last couple of months. And then, to add on what we're going through across this country over the last week. It's just, it's an amazing thing to come together as a community and to have these discussions. And I think, one of the things that we've done right in Attleboro for a long time, but certainly under your leadership, Todd, during this coronavirus, is that we have the conversation. As painful as it is sometimes, it's about being just accountable to each other and accessible to each other and having the conversations. And that goes for everything. And whatever crisis we're facing at the time, it's important to be able to talk. I don't normally quote Vladimir Lenin, but Lenin said, famously, that there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. And I think we're at that moment. We're at that moment. And I think it's important for us to be able to continue to have this conversation as a community, not only about coronavirus, not only about our economy, not only about what we've seen with the racial injustice and the incident we just talked about, the murder of George Floyd, but really on an ongoing basis have these conversations about the things that affect our community. So thank you again, Todd, and thanks to everybody that's on here tonight. I've led for the last 13 weeks talking a little bit about where we are to give a little bit of state of play, where we are in the virus. Last few weeks, we've had some, positive news, meaning that the trends are going in the right direction. I say that always with the caveat that we still have to remember that even though we're talking about less people in the hospital, less people in the ICU, less deaths each day, those are still family members of people. Those are still members of our community. Every day the mayor sends us the update that we get from Attleboro on the numbers in Attleboro. And whether it's one death or two deaths, that's still somebody's family. That's still somebody from our community. So, I think sometimes we lose sight of that when we talk about data and numbers. But I always want to mention that on these calls. It's important to remember that these are people, and people are still suffering. But with that said, the positive trends are good in each category, in each of the indices that the governor and the administration has been looking at. So the command center, which is led by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary Sutters, each day publishes a dashboard. We've talked about it many times on here. And, we're starting to look at kind of these metrics as a whole picture. So neither one of them is in a silo, but we're looking at, number one, positive test rate, with the understanding that the raw number of positive patients, is going to fluctuate, is going to go up and down based on a couple of things. Number one is how much testing we're doing. As testing ramps up, we're going to see more cases. So the important piece to understanding what that means is to look at the percentage of positive tests. Again, this week, we've seen a downward trend of positive test percentage. For a while, we were talking, it was in the high 20s, then it came down. We were in the teens for a few weeks. In the last couple of weeks on this call, I'm happy to report that we're down around 6 and 7% of positive test rates, which is great. We're starting to see a real trend in hospitalizations where more people are coming home each day than are actually being admitted to the hospital. That's one of the main metrics that we're starting to look at. Again, understanding that this whole mitigation effort that we've had to undergo here in the Commonwealth was about managing that surge and making sure that we didn't have more patients than we had resources, beds, staff, physicians, and nurses. That has gone in a positive direction as well. There's only a handful, I think as of today, probably 6 hospitals that are still using surge capacity. So what that means across the Commonwealth is that we have, as the governor said last week, we've moved beyond the surge. We say that carefully because, the virus is still an unknown. It's a novel coronavirus. We don't know how it's going to react, as we do kind of reopen, as we go through the summer. So those are going to be continually monitored by DPH and by the command center. Part of that is as they look at these metrics, you say, well, what does it mean to us? What does it mean to regular people that are, trying to live our lives? Well, those metrics are actually dictating the decisions that are made by the administration and the governor on reopening. And, he announced a phased reopening plan. And I think there was, kind of incoming to the governor and the administration on all sides on, we're going too fast or we're going too slow. Every one of us has our opinion on what that should look like. But ultimately, the governor and the administration decided that they were going to continue to watch these metrics. They were going to slowly reopen and then give themselves time between each phase so that they could see what the actual ramifications were with the virus. With that being said, there was some guidance released last week on restaurant reopening. Certainly not ideal. Many of the restaurants I've spoken with over the last week, very concerned. The death rate, for lack of a better term, among many restaurants throughout the Commonwealth is going to be alarmingly high as people struggle to kind of hang on in a business that already had narrow margins like many do. But that particular sector is going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting for a long time. So there's a few things that have been kind of talked about and in discussion. I told you last week on this call, one of the issues that we've been trying to work through is if the governor does come out with guidance that there's going to be some sort of outdoor dining experience, so people aren't sitting inside, a couple of feet away from each other, but that they could actually have, an experience outdoors, then we're going to have an issue with alcohol service because state law, the way it exists now, for a restaurant that doesn't have a license to be able to serve alcohol outdoors on a patio or a sidewalk, they have to go through an incredible amount of red tape that could take months. Under normal circumstances, when you try and amend a liquor license for that purpose, you're talking about, at least a month for the state to do their part. Well, when you have 9,200 establishments that could potentially take advantage of this with such a spike in applications, the ABCC, which is the alcohol regulatory agency here in the Commonwealth, were concerned that they wouldn't be able to get to these applications and do their inspections and do their part until well into the summer and even into the fall. Well, if you're a restaurant owner and you're trying to have outdoor service with alcohol, October and November doesn't cut it. So we went to work, my staff and I, we filed a bill. As soon as we were made aware of this, we filed a bill to try and cut the ABCC out of the process and allow the municipality, the local licensing authority, the ability to license these establishments quickly so that they could expedite the permitting, get these restaurants up and running, and at least give them some sort of relief as they fight back. That bill has been admitted to the Senate. It's been referred to the Committee on Consumer Protection and Professional Licensure, which happens to be the committee I chair, which bodes well for it. And I think we've been hearing rumors today that there may be some more guidance from the governor as soon as tomorrow, perhaps maybe midweek, in regards to that. So we're working closely in the legislature and with the administration to try and figure that out. But I just wanted to mention that because I brought it up last week. So I'll leave it with that. We're concentrating now on the economic impact. The unemployment rate is still at a record rate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Businesses are trying to figure out how they phase in this reopen now with increased costs on PPE, making sure that they can go out and get not only the PPE to keep themselves safe and their customers safe, but things like disinfectant and all these other items that they're going to need in a world where we've seen some price gouging, we've seen increased pricing. So we're really looking at that in the legislature. My committee heard a bill last week, about a week and a half ago, actually, on price gouging so that we can codify into Massachusetts law what price gouging is, so that businesses that are reopening don't have exorbitant costs in trying to get the equipment that they need. And then the unemployment, still trying to manage and triage a lot of those issues, trying to figure out, how we make the transition from businesses that are open and employees that should be going back to work, how they go back to work, how the unemployment system works. And then finally, really looking at what our budget's going to look like in 2021. Representative Hawkins and I have had many, many discussions with our colleagues and with Ways and Means in trying to figure out what local aid is going to be, because that's what really affects our communities. And we could have, I announced a few weeks ago that we were looking at close to a $6 billion budget shortfall in FY21. We could be upwards of $8 billion at this point based on projections. So there's not a lot of good news when it comes to that, but we've gotten through tough times before. We have a great stabilization fund in Massachusetts. We've budgeted conservatively in the past, but we just want to make sure that the safety nets exist for the people that need them, making sure that we're keeping up our commitment to folks that are experiencing homelessness in Attleboro and throughout the Commonwealth, making sure that we're keeping up our commitment to folks that need health care, making sure that we're keeping up our commitment to people that are undernourished and are food insecure. Those are the types of things that we need to concentrate on. And all of that, all of that is going to be a difficult kind of road to hoe over the next year. But I do know that the better that our economy does, the easier those decisions are going to be, because we're going to have more in the pipeline. So with that, Todd, I want to thank you again for doing this, and everybody who's on here tonight. I know it's been a tough week, and to anybody that wants to talk and reach out, please do so. 617-722-1222 is my office. paul.feeney@masenate.gov is my email. It goes right to my phone. I get a couple hundred emails a day, but please reach out if there's anything that I can do for you. My staff and I will jump on it. And just good luck to everybody out there. Be safe and continue to be healthy. Thanks so much, Todd.
Outstanding. Thank you, Paul, and thank you for bringing up the bill that you brought forward for the restaurants and the alcohol licenses. So John Moran is on, and I know we're going to get to them later, but John, do you have any questions regarding that? I know this is something that when we spoke earlier, you had some concerns on, and we're looking to sort of be able to move tables outside. Do you have any questions for Senator Feeney?
Yeah, our biggest thing is that we're just looking for, how much space we're going to have. If the cities are going to allow like sidewalks And if we're going to find out, we own our parking lot, we have a patio already, but we think we're going to need a little bit more space, especially if we want to do the social distancing properly. So we're hoping this week that we hear some guidance. I know that you need like a variance to have alcohol in the parking lot. You can get like a 1-day pass. I was hoping they could make like a 60-day pass or something like that. So that's what I'm hoping for. And then if any information this week would be fantastic.
Perfect. Also, I did speak to Catherine Fierick, the Economic Development Director, and she's working on something for us here in Attleboro, but doesn't have anything yet, but hopefully by the end of the week, she'll have some more guidance. Sorry, go ahead, Senator Feeney.
No, that's right. I just wanted to mention that a lot of municipalities are trying to grapple with now. There's really two tiers when you think about this. Like Moran's obviously has, some space already in the, in a private parking lot where they could potentially put tables and serve alcohol if they were, permitted to do so. But then there's that second tier that I think a lot of communities are grappling with about using the public way. North Attleboro was talking about closing down a street and having kind of an al fresco dining zone. Many cities across the country are already doing that. Of course, Massachusetts is lagging behind, but I know I've spoken with town managers and city councilors and boards of select persons and mayors at length over the last 2 weeks. And each one of them are looking to put together an expedited permitting process and to examine using the public way, even if it's for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to kind of bring people into certain zones where there's multiple restaurants and that sort of thing. And I would say just on the timing piece, the bill that I wrote as far as for the permitting of alcohol service outdoors, that sunsets on November 1st, figuring we can get through the season, and then your license would revert back. But then we also want to make sure that we're tagging kind of a long-term component to that, so that if it does work, we don't have to reinvent the wheel and you can do it from season to season to season. So we're working on it, and I know the city of Attleboro is looking at what they're going to do, and communities throughout my district are doing the same. So thank you, John, and thanks, Todd.
All right.
Danny.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Representative Hawkins. Jim, welcome.
Thank you. I'm never ready to unmute myself. And this is how many weeks now? 13 weeks?
13.
So some of the people on here probably haven't been on before. The people are tired of me hearing me say this, but I think one of the most important thing we can do, either at the city or the state level as an elected official, is to communicate with the people in our districts. This has been an unprecedented time. People don't know what to expect. They want to know what's going on. And good news or bad news, it's a valuable service, and you've gone above and beyond to make this happen every week, along with Jim Jones, who doesn't show, but he's behind this every week too. So thank you to both of you for making this happen. In no particular order, Senator Feeney mentioned the budget, which is probably the same thing we're working on the House side. That there's hours of conversation every day. I don't know how this is going to work. It's going to be unpleasant, whatever happens. It's good to see so many businesses from Attleboro on the show with you. I think the first 12, we've been worried about the virus and not the businesses. And now finally we're started to have some discussions about how business can start to come back. Very important. That's what keeps us going. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for your patience and waiting for us to get to this point. Other things, if you're new, also Senator Feeney always says the heavy lifting. He does all the work and explains what's going on, and I talk about the fun stuff. One of which I think Chief Hegney might not still be on, was the parade Friday night for the graduating high school seniors. There was I think there was a car for every kid almost every kid, and there was police cars in between and sirens. I was at the high school. They made a couple loops around the high school. I don't know. Maybe I just like cars and flashing lights. I would have rather done that than stand up on a stage and be on my best behavior. That was kind of fun, and I think it was some very good thinking on Bill Rooney's part and on Chief Hegney's part to come up with a way that they could celebrate their graduation. I think Steve Withers may know more about what's coming, what else may be coming, but that was a very cool thing, and I was happy that it happened. The other thing, still in no big order, I know Senator Feeney mentioned food insecurity. Senator Feeney, you, Todd, Heather is on the call, and Jay Delisio, who's not on this call, are organizing our third food drive next weekend on the 6th and the 7th. It's from 10 to 1. It's in the parking lot behind the YMCA. And the need keeps growing. When we first started, we did it for 3 food pantries. Now it's for 4. We split the food between Hebron Food Pantry, St. Joseph's Food Pantry, St. Teresa's Food Pantry, and Murray Church Food Pantry. And now we're also doing some, that's for food pantry items. Now we're needing some items for the meals that are served. Attleboro Interfaith's Food and Friends that they serve at 4:30 at the Baptist Church on South Main Street. There's some things that are missing in what they have access to. And the summer eats for the kids in the summertime, that's missing some things. So we'll be looking for the food pantries, we'll be looking for non-perishables, pasta, canned goods, anything that's non-perishable. For the meals, we'll be looking for single serving things, bags of chips, snacks, food cups. There's a list coming out. It's a little more complicated to make the brochure, but it should be online tomorrow. Other thing that we're going to be working on in the House this week is mail-in voting, particularly for the September election. The question is, should ballots be mailed to everybody, and the people that want to do it remotely do it or not? But in September is a primary, so there's a lot of independents who would need to choose which ballot they want, Democrat or Republican. So that what we think is going to happen is you'll be sent an application, and if you don't want to go in because you don't want to go in because you don't want to be exposed to that many people, you can just request an absentee ballot and do it by mail. Those are discussions that are happening, but I think if whatever they do, they have to do it in the next couple of weeks. So I expect that legislation to move very quickly. And the other thing that's going on in my office is continuing need for help with unemployment. A lot of people signed up for unemployment who hadn't been on unemployment before, made mistakes filling the form out. And once there's a mistake on your form, it goes into Never Never Land. And that's where we can help out. And we've been helping a lot of people with it. So if you're thinking there's a snag somewhere, whether you're on unemployment, you're welcome to call. Either Senator Feeney's office is doing a lot of them. Our office is doing a lot of them. I'll give you my cell. His easiest way to reach me is 508-226-1436. And I think that's it.
Outstanding.
That's all the things I had written down in my paper anyway.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have Jack Lank and the local businesses. But we'll start with Jack in the United Regional Chamber of Commerce. Can you tell us a little bit about how things have been going for local businesses in general, what you've been seeing in some of the issues you've been seeing as we start to reopen everything?
Sure. Again, Todd, thanks for having us on here this evening and for the 13th show. Right now, what the chamber has done is just become basically an information source. We cannot do any of our face-to-face meetings or seminars. So one of the things that we really encourage people to do is to follow us on our social media. Unfortunately, our website got hacked so much that it had to be completely taken down. We couldn't, my people couldn't get rid of the viruses that were in there. So we've been relying on social media. And Friday afternoon, the state came out with those guidelines for the restaurants and for the lodging that you can copy right off of our social media page. Also, something that's very important that I don't think has been disseminated enough to the small businesses. One of the regulations that has been put forth by the state administration is you have to have a written plan. Every single business has to have a written plan that if somebody from the state comes in, you can present it to them. So one of the things we've done is shared that. And again, you can go to our Facebook page and download the checklist, the form itself of exactly what they're going to be looking for. And a lot of small businesses don't know that, and they think, oh, I don't have to do that. Well, unfortunately, you do. And that's some of the regulations by the state. The other things that they've mandated, and again, we've put out there, and you're going to hear me keep saying, go to my Facebook page. We put out downloadable flyers and posters that have to be put up in any public building or any place that is going to see consumers face to face. And there's also a poster and a flyer up there that employers are supposed to put up for their employees. They've all basically been done by the state. So we're just sharing the resources that the state has shared with us. We're very much in touch with the folks up there. We're on a conference call every week with the Lieutenant Governor, Secretary Sutters, and also Secretary Mike Keneally that keeps us informed. And then they share information that they ask us to put out to all the small businesses. One of the challenges that a lot of our members have reached out to us for in the last 2 weeks is because most of these companies are now required to have their employees with the PPE equipment. Finding the PPE equipment for the smaller businesses has been a little difficult because, as most of us know, we had a real tough time finding it for our first responders, for the people in the healthcare industry. And some of my small businesses have said, listen, I can find these places, but they're making me buy them cases at a time. And I don't need cases at a time. So we've searched around a little bit and found 4 different places locally that some will sell you by the case, but then you can get them as low as, 10, 15, 25 lots. And if anybody's interested or need those names, please reach out to me at the chamber. We'll be glad to share those resources with you because it's things that are going to be, mandatory. One thing I want to take a step back for a second, Jim Hawkins mentioned the unemployment. And we've gotten some serious bulletins from the law enforcement agencies. And this is for all the folks in the public. If you receive a letter or a notice at home that you've filed an unemployment claim and you have not filed one, do not ignore that. Contact them with the information right away. Because what that means is somebody has tried to steal part of your identity and is using your information to file unemployment claims. The state is inundated right now, so it's very difficult for them to, do the due diligence on each and every single one of these claims. So if you get that notice, please don't ignore it because that can affect your future and also your company as well. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that.
No, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. It's quite widespread. I'm going to see if I can find the link and maybe Todd can put it up on the screen before the end of this.
Yeah,
thing. It's very important.
And for some reason, Bristol County has been targeted, and a lot of the communities have gotten phone calls from folks questioning this. So please, folks, if you get that, don't ignore it. Take care of it. So if there's anything that you think the chamber can do to help. The discussions we've had, especially with the restaurants, they're very concerned, as Senator Feeney was mentioning, the red tape that they would have to go through in order to get some of these permitting. And as John mentioned, the extra ones to do some outdoor dining. It's a great thing that both sides are trying to get the ABC to step back and step away because the red tape is just absolutely ridiculous. And, we've got a pretty good group here at City Hall, and I'm sure they'll find an expediting process for those folks to get the permitting that they need. But again, as John, we said, we haven't got the final details as far as what the distancing is going to be, the social distancing for the different restaurants. We don't know what the capacity that the state is going to allow. For instance, if a restaurant, and John, I don't mean to be speaking for you, but if a restaurant has 100 seats, the initial is you're only going to be able to have 20%. And even if you can only have 20% inside, you can only have 20% outside. So sometimes it's not feasible financially for a restaurant to only be able to have, 20 people at a time, because you still have to, pay your cooks, your servers, and everything else. So everybody is still up in the air because we have not seen or heard from the state what the actual guidelines will be. And hopefully the governor and his task force is going to come out with that this week. so the restaurants and the lodging facilities can be better prepared. But I'm going to leave it to the folks that are small businesses out there to share with us, some of the struggles that they've had. I've heard from many, but I'd like everybody on the call and on the cable TV to hear directly from those guys. So,
and Jack, thank you for that, and also thank you for mentioning the unemployment fraud. I know I'm one of the people that's received one of those notices, and so he just shared this link. If you search for unemployment fraud reporting form, you can find it, and you could just fill this out to report that you've received one of these letters if you have received one. So thank you, Senator Feeny, for sharing that. And now,
Todd, just two other things, if it's okay.
Sure.
For the other folks on here, we've created two other Facebook pages. One is Rally Around the Restaurants. And if you have a restaurant or any restaurant around, you can post up your menus, your specials, anything else. And it's for members and non-members. We're just trying to, get people to go into the local restaurants. And it's the same thing. We have a United Regional Back to Business page, which right now you can put up, what you're doing, when you're open, when your hours are. You don't have to be a member of the chamber to do that. We're just trying to help all the small businesses in the area. So there's two Facebook pages that if you want to share your information, please jump on there. We'll be glad to share it for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. And now, in no particular order, we'll go through each of the small businesses, starting with John from Morins. John, thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How have things been going?
It's going all right. I mean, we've been open every day since the shutdown. So we've been grinding it out, figuring things out on the fly because things seem to change every day. But I think, we were getting into our groove, and now we're going to open up outside dining this next week. So now we got to reconfigure things a little bit. So we're getting there.
And now, have you had layoffs at all, or how? Obviously, business has slowed. How bad was it as far as that goes?
Yeah. So when the original shutdown, we went down to from about 45 employees to about, I'd say 8. Okay. And the 8 of us kind of grinded it out. Put up some amazing numbers. We got some help from the catering company, who also is getting completely devastated in this whole thing. That a lot of people aren't actually talking about catering at all. A lot of talks on the restaurants, but catering is just getting absolutely, devastated. So a lot of those guys came up and helped us get us through that initial push. And then once we were able to get the loan, we got a lot of people back to work. And we're still in the midst of the loan right now. So we're probably back to about 25 employees right now. But with the loan running out soon, we might have to go back. But we're also at the same point where, outdoor dining is opening up for us, and then maybe indoor in a couple more weeks. So, it's tough to navigate everything, but we're getting through it. We'll figure it out.
All right. I know at the beginning of this, there was a big push, and everybody was ordering takeout, and big push to support local restaurants and ordering gift certificates and all that. I feel like some of that newness is worn off now. 13 weeks or whatever into this. Have you seen sort of a drop off, or how are things going now?
I mean, we've been pretty blessed by a great support system through Attleboro. Just want to keep supporting the employees. They've been great to us. I mean, I can't say enough about the city of Attleboro really coming out and supporting the restaurant. I do think for a time there was like this want to get back, and there were some restaurants that weren't actually open. I mean, it was just us and Briggs and the Blackington Inn, and a lot had closed, so it was only about 3 or 4 in Attleboro. So yeah, we got pretty busy at some pretty times. Now it's kind of steadied, and a lot of the other restaurants have been able to open, which is good. Everybody's giving back to the community, but it was pretty tough there the first couple of weeks.
Excellent. Do you have any specials coming up this week, or anything going on that people should?
Well, we're just Right now, all our focus is on outdoor dining. We're looking at what the city can help us out here. We do have another restaurant in Newport that kind of had to go through that red tape that some of the other people were talking about. They were open for a week, then they got shut down because they didn't have a proper plan. Well, they did, but they didn't know how to get approved by the police department. So they got shut down for a couple of days. So we don't want to see any of that happen. We want to make sure we're ready to go next week and everything's, on point.
Perfect. And so when you do open up, outdoor dining and all of that, where will people find out that that's open?
We're going to post. Yeah, we'll post it all on our website and on Facebook and Twitter and all the social media we can. We'll post up as much stuff as we possibly can to let people know.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, John. And
all right.
good luck with everything.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Next up, again, in no particular order, we have John Boss, for a local realtor here in Attleboro. John?
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. How people don't talk about the realty business. How's that been over during all of this?
So the real estate market, initially, when all this happened, there was a lot of challenges, a lot of sellers that were pulling their houses off the market. I think the unique challenge that COVID has for real estate is we have buyers that are walking into sellers' homes, not just meeting at the grocery store or something like that. So, initially we had to come up with a lot of, safety measures, obviously the masks, the gloves, booties, before walking into the houses, and kind of limiting the buyers that walk into the house. We started doing more visual tours, which were existing before, but weren't as popular. Now there's a lot of virtual walkthroughs that are going on. But the surprising part is, after that initial 2 to 4 weeks of being really slow, the market has really picked up, and it's actually ahead of where it was at this point last year. So it's surprising that it's up. It's actually 2% up versus this time last year. The only difference is the number of available properties are down 46%. So it was a seller's market before, and now it's actually even more of a seller's market now, because there's very little inventory and a ton of buyers out there still looking to buy. We're seeing a lot of people coming, from the city that are now looking to move to the suburbs, not just to Attleboro, but all around this area. Now that they know they can work from home and use awesome software like Zoom. So we're seeing a lot of people that are moving this way.
That's really interesting. It's something I hadn't considered as a result of all of this, that people may be more willing to move out of the city and move towards the suburbs. That's fascinating.
We had 3 this week.
Wow.
3 this week, going Cambridge to Rentham. There was one Brookline to North Attleboro. So there's a lot of it.
Interesting. Anything else the public should know in general as far as the real estate market? I know I've seen a lot of these virtual tours online of houses, and it's fascinating to see, and they're super effective.
Yeah, I think virtual tours are here to stay. It's a lot more effective way of looking at a house, or at least previewing it before you go. But the only other thing I had to add was, the interest rates are still really low. So, it's still a great time to buy or sell. But, I feel bad for so many of the people that have gotten laid off, because, that has affected a little piece of that market. So, but yeah, that was all I had for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much for joining, John.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Next up, and it is my pleasure to welcome Derek Ross. Derek, welcome. And round of applause. Congratulations on opening. Do I need to let me ask you to unmute. Hold on. There you go. you there?
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. It's definitely been a long awaited victory to get this place open. We anticipated every hoop to jump through, but a pandemic, that's for sure. But the hardest part was having to lay off half of our company when this happened, and we made a commitment to a lot of the retail staff that we had training with standard operating procedures that our regulators specifically have us do to open the store. And when we finally got to open the store on Monday, everything that we had trained our retail team to do was the complete opposite. We've been exclusively curbside, exclusively debit cards, and it really complicated things out of the gate. And luckily we have a good team over there and a solid general manager that got everybody staffed up and trained. I think we hired over 30 people this week, and we've been open. We actually just closed about a half an hour ago, but we're just making the best of it and just excited to finally open and provide this convenience to the customers here in Bristol County.
Outstanding. I'm very happy that you guys were able to open. I was nervous with the whole coronavirus and all of those delays, what impact that may have on you guys. I know you've been working for a couple of years now to get that open. How has business been since you've opened?
Really good. We've seen a steady flow of customers, coming through in between the hours of 10 and 8 right now. It's all really new. The standard operating procedures that we had to adopt and train our employees to do out of the gate was a little rocky for sure. A lot of technical issues with wireless devices and the curbside. The curbside option definitely was a hurdle, specifically with the masks, with the heat, with people having to go from inside to outside, runners bringing different products from the store out to the cars, and overheating. We had 3 individuals throughout the entire week that were wearing masks that couldn't breathe because of the heat. So we've been combating that as well, keeping everybody hydrated, and just doing the best we can to get open and hire and offer more opportunities for people looking for jobs in the community right now.
Excellent. Yeah, there's certainly a demand for or need for jobs. So Nova Farms, where are you guys located?
On 34 Extension Street.
Extension Street. And how do people, so what's the process like for somebody to order and go pick something up if the store is not open and it's all curbside? How does that work?
Right now, if you go to novafarms.com and click on our menu, there's a menu option. And just like Amazon, you find the products that you like, you put it into your cart, and you check out. It'll ask you for your cell phone number, and we'll give you a confirmation text, and you reply yes. And then within roughly about an hour, we'll send another text out that asks you to come in. And anytime between our hours of operation, you can drive in. You don't have to get out of your car, and you just wait in line, process your debit card in line, pull up, and we'll be able to hand off the product, and you can be on your way. We're just really trying to limit the exposure between our retail staff and the consumer.
Perfect. It sounds pretty easy. Now, do the customers need like a letter from the doctor or anything, or what do they need for?
Right now, it's 21 plus. So everybody in the car is being ID'd. If there's anybody in the car under 21, we're not accepting the cars. We have our security director up front only allowing cars that have all 21 plus adults in them to pull into the parking lot. And right now, this past week, we've only accepted debit card transactions to simplify the process. Next week, we'll be rolling out a cash option so that customers can use cash to buy products as well. We should start that process tomorrow morning and see how well it works, and gauge if we're going to continue to do it or stick to the debit card. So we're going to open up that option for a few days, and if it works out, we'll keep it. But if not, we're just going to wait this out with the debit transactions.
Outstanding, Derek. I read the Sun Chronicle editorial the other day where they were welcoming you to the community, and I'd also like to extend that welcome and say congratulations on being the first to open here in Attleboro, and welcome.
Appreciate that. That was a big moment for us. That was an amazing article. It didn't even feel real reading it, after so many years, and every headline that we've seen with our name on it, wasn't the most well drafted articles, and that one just really made us feel proud of our business here. And we've just been really staffing up and prioritizing locals over anybody else right now, and we just hired another 30 people, and about 25 people, and we're looking for an additional 50 more. So we're hiring every day, and we've been just letting everybody know to jump on our Indeed application process, and getting the process, and because we need bodies, we need people, we need staff. So we're just super excited to finally be open.
Thank you so much. Anything else to share with the public or that you'd like to say?
Nope.
Outstanding. Thanks again for joining us, and congratulations.
Thanks, Todd.
Next up, some of my favorite people, and people I obviously need to go see real soon. Patrick, Gigi, Rachel, welcome. It's good to see you guys. How's everybody doing?
Good to see you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having us on your show tonight.
It's great to see you, and I need to set up an appointment real soon. How's everything been going?
Everything's going so far so good. What happened? Coronavirus pandemic forced us to shut down the place for 10 weeks, from March 16 to May 22. We went from 10 chairs to 0. We have to furlough independent barbers, but assist them with applying to unemployment benefits. We also applied to PPP and a loan to keep our employees on payroll and to pay rent and utilities while the business is closed. We reopened this week and our business are up 20% because of longer hour, 15 hours a day, and our loyal customer.
To reopen, we implemented different safety measures. Beginning this past Monday, May 25th, we reopened at 50% capacity in accordance with the Massachusetts state law. This means that we have 5 barbers at a time from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Saturday. We've been working very hard to make a safe reopening. There are a few additional changes we have implemented. We have a greeter at the door to make sure all regulations are followed and to check customers in, meaning we have no waiting in lines. The only services we provide are haircuts, which are appointment only on our website. This means no beards or shaving, at least through phase 1 of reopening. We've also been screening barbers to make sure that they are healthy and asking our customers to please stay home if they are sick. We have completely cleaned and sanitized the shop and will continue to sanitize in between customers. Barbers have been sanitizing, performing hand hygiene, and changing their gloves between customers. Barbers are wearing gloves, masks, plastic shields, as well as smocks. Customers must wear a face covering at all times as well. Our barber chairs are more than 14 feet apart, and there is no waiting room, coat hanger, customer water, or coffee machines or magazines. Also, no food or drinks are allowed in the building. Ultimately, this is for the safety of our barbers and the community of Attleboro, because we know both sides of the crisis, both the personal and the community effects.
Good.
Perfect. So you mentioned continuing to pay salaries while people were, while you guys were closed down. I know a lot of businesses were doing that, and so thank you, and I'm sure your employees are very grateful for that. You mentioned you can make appointments on your website. What is the website? Or just search for King Barber?
Our website is kingbarber.us.
.us.
You
And
can
then,
also find it on our Facebook page.
perfect. What's like when are you guys open now? You mentioned some longer hours.
Yeah, so we're open from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That's running 50% capacity. So we have to get to all of our customers with half of our barbers on at a time.
Okay, wow. It's so when people are booking appointments, how far ahead are we looking? Like if I went on to book an appointment for tomorrow, is there availability tomorrow?
So tomorrow, I don't think we have any availability, but we're booking as far ahead as a week ahead of time. That way we can get to all of our customers. And it's a live booking. So if someone cancels, then the appointment reopens and you could book that appointment. So it's all online.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Do you guys have anything else to share with the community that you want to share?
Yeah, we'd like to share if we can ask for some help from the city of Attleboro.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the city can run advertisements, support local businesses like King Barber and our hair product, King's brand. And we ask if the city, if representative, please help us given hand sanitizer, gloves, and face mask to barber shops. Those are very expensive right now.
So help with PPE?
Yes, please.
PPE, please, yeah.
Okay, and I know Jack Lank mentioned some local resources that may have some less expensive options there. But yeah, no, I've made a note. Anything else? So that's for the city. What about for the public that you want the public to know?
So we want the public to know a couple of things. The other owner, Gigi, will share them.
Yeah. We are following all the guidelines to protect our customers and barbers. Their safety is our priority. We are working long hours and trying our best during this time. Be safe. Hope to see you soon.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope to see you soon as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Keith with Marcotte Designs. Keith, welcome. Where are you? Oh.
Can you hear me?
We've got you now. There we go.
All right.
I love the shirt.
Hey, thanks. I love yours. Nice.
Perfect. So how have you guys been doing?
I mean, we've been a one-man shop since March 20th was our last day that I had staff in the building.
Okay.
So ever since then, next week, this coming week will be week 11. Just one-man shop, trying to get everything done that I can, and you know, we're gonna try to bring everyone back after that.
Now, how many people were there before?
5, including myself.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough. So obviously business has been slowed. When are you expecting to reopen?
Well, I mean, I've been open kind of by myself, taking orders the whole time. You know, wearing a mask while I produce everything and stuff like that. Landscape jobs. What we saw a big hit in is the youth sports. Everything got canceled.
Right.
You know, the gatherings aren't happening anymore. So our business relies heavily on people getting together. The youth sports market was big for us. Attleboro youth soccer and baseball got canceled this year. So that's, you know, not only tough for us, but the kids as well. And it was just kind of a week. 1 week we were fine, and then it was in a week's time the orders just dropped off. So that was the kind of time that I was looking for something maybe to give back and to keep us busy as well, where, you know, the community thing came into play. I started reaching out to some people in the community, ended up hooking up with Megan Hamilton at the Attleboro YMCA. And she was kind of putting together the Greater Attleboro Stronger Together Fund at the same time. So that kind of, you know, we kind of partnered up on the t-shirts and stuff like that. So it was nice to give back and just kind of stay busy and feel like we're doing good in the community at a tough time like this.
And can people still order these shirts online?
Yep. So our website is a little out of date, and that's something we're working on, but there's a link on our Facebook. There's a pinned post on the Facebook page, and we're going to add some tank tops tomorrow for the summer months, and just try to drive some more sales to help out the Stronger Together Fund.
Excellent. Anything you want to tell the public or notify them about or anything?
So we have some affordable PPE available to us. Our industry, you know, t-shirt industry, a lot of the manufacturers kind of pivoted their business to make masks. You know, they're not medical grade, but, you know, they're pretty affordable. You know, I can get them as low as $3 a piece. You know, if any of the local businesses need them for reopening, if you want to contact me by email or phone, I'd be happy to get those out to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Todd, for having me.
Perfect. And last but certainly not least, William Levitt from Wicked Nice Lawns. Bill.
Hey, what's going on, Todd? How you doing?
Hey, good to see you.
Nice to see you as well, man.
How's the lawn care industry been?
The last week and a half or so, it's been really strong. You know, so as we started to open back up in Massachusetts a little bit, we've been getting back to beautification, things like that. So it has been much better. If you look back just a month or so ago, we were really focused on really maintenance only. So mowing lawns and just cutting back growth. We weren't really able to do anything that was non-essential. So there was a major change in the landscaping business. Normally we would start in April or so and really get cranking. And we really haven't seen that until really the week before Memorial Day. So it was definitely a tough challenge to get through. And we're just now starting to get caught up, get our guys hired up for the season. And we're starting to see the business really come in, which is good. People want to use their yards. You know, they definitely want to use their yards. They're going to be home.
Absolutely. What sort of things have you guys been doing to stay safe?
Yeah, a lot of things we've done. So the first initial change that we had to make is normally a landscaping company, you're going to have, 4 or 5 guys in the truck. You have large crew sizes. We had to reduce those crew sizes down to 1 or 2 people. And that was really difficult. It reduced what we were able to do. It reduced our capacity drastically. We also had to think about our main location. So we weren't able to have, 20 guys show up at a garage. So we had to change the times and then change where they came from. So we reduced from one central area to multiple areas across the state to be able to service the communities better. So that's helped a lot. That was a really challenging point, but we were able to do it, and we needed to early in the season in order to be able to take care of our customers. So I think that was important. And then the other thing that we've really focused on is way more technology in the landscaping business. So landscaping traditionally, you call a company, hey, come check out my yard. Let me walk around with you. What we wanted to do is we wanted to make it easier for the customer to purchase landscaping services. So we're measuring properties through satellite. We're looking at, lawn areas through satellite. We're doing contactless estimates where we're going out, we're measuring, mulch beds or looking at trees, whatever it may be in the customer's yard, kind of on our own with directions or pictures through our app, which you can find on the App Store, either iPhone or Google. It's called Wicked Nice Lawn. Look for the orange tree. Or you could do that right on our website, www.wickednicelawn.com. So we've made it really, really easy for people to purchase landscaping services and then get estimates in a way that you don't have to walk around with, the estimator on your property. So there's been a lot of changes in the business, and it's going to continue to change. Right now, with everything that's going on, everyone's home. Everyone wants to use their yards. and be able to spend time with their families and friends. And we're going to be able to help you get that done this year.
Excellent. Now, I would expect business to be down still. So what with all the unemployment and all of that, one of the first things that I know for me when money starts running thin is, you know, all of a sudden the landscaper gets caught and I'm out there with the lawnmower myself. So what have you seen as far as business? Is it
we saw an immediate 70% decrease in standard customers. We obviously couldn't do beautification. We couldn't do those types of businesses. So mulching, things like that at first, because we didn't have the crew size to be able to do that. So it was a massive reduction. And we saw that really in April. I mean, if we go back and we look at April's business was non-existent in comparison to previous years. Recently, in the last 2 weeks or so, there's been a massive influx as people start to go back to work, as you know, cash flow starts to come in again. We're starting to see that increase. Also, if you look at the weather, grass has grown like crazy. You're driving by houses and they're 18 inches, 20 inches high. So we've been getting the emergency calls. We've been getting a lot of the safety calls because people can't get into their houses anymore. So there's been a lot of that lately. But it was way down even just 2 weeks ago. And I mean, way down, half the business as normal. This past week, if you look week over week, we are actually up a little bit as far as the week itself, but that's because all that business has been condensed into a very shorter period of time. So I'm hopeful for the season. I'm hopeful to see what's going to happen. But I would tell you that, yeah, landscaping business is way down, but people do want to use their property. So we are getting the phone calls. The business is picking up right now, and we're hopeful to see that this year is going to pull through.
And so it's safe for people to call you guys, to have you guys come out. You guys are open. Anything else you want to share with the public?
Yeah, I mean, check us out. Check us out on Facebook, Wicked Nice Lawn. You can check us out on our website, www.wickednicelawn.com, or download our app. It's really easy to use. You can see the work that we've done on your property if you are a customer of ours. If not, you can request services, get an estimate really easily, and we'll be there for you. So check us out.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
All right. And so that wraps us up with the different local businesses. It was great to hear from six different local Attleboro businesses in 6 different industries. Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we move on?
Todd, it's great what you're doing, man. I really like these things, and it's awesome. So keep it up, man.
Thanks, Bill. All right. Moving on. And next we have Heather Perica to talk about the farmers market. Heather, always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Thanks for inviting me on tonight. I'm happy to hear some successes, and I'm worried and concerned about the challenges of our local businesses. Farmers market's no different. We're like a little city that pops up in the middle of the center of Attleboro every Saturday for 20 weeks in the summertime. We've had to, it's going to look very different this year than it has in past years. We're thrilled. The board of directors is thrilled and excited that we are able to actually move forward. We are classified as an essential service because we are a direct food supplier. So State Rep Jim Hawkins and I were on a Zoom call with many legislators across the state, and they were phenomenal in helping encourage local boards of health to work with their local farmers markets to make sure that they have the ability to create those plans that we were talking about earlier, so that we have a great plan to keep everybody healthy, but most importantly, make sure that they have access to fresh local fruits and vegetables. That's the main goal. You may have heard some information in the news lately about SNAP and HIP benefits from the state and federal government. They're really beefing up people's ability to utilize those funds to help with that food instability. Most of our vegetable vendors do accept HIP and SNAP. So you'll be able to come to the market, be able to use some of those benefits and actually get benefits back. So that there's a lot of work. We have to get the PPEs. I'm, petrified of thinking about 100-degree days in the middle of O'Connell Field, having to wear masks and gloves. Those are kinds of things that we have to make those accommodations for as well. One of the other things too is in my conversations with our local health department, Alan Perry, we're a great social gathering place. Families come, they get their donuts, they sit at the picnic tables, they, meet other friends and things like that. Well, unfortunately, under the current circumstances, we're not allowed to congregate. So any of our special events, no touch a truck is happening this year. No pumpkin, apple pie contest will be happening this year. The food trucks, unfortunately, we won't be able to have food trucks this year.
Time out.
I know.
Time out. The apple pie contest.
I know. As a past judge, you've always done us very proud in choosing that perfect apple pie. But unfortunately, to make our health department comfortable with allowing us to open, which is ultimately our goal, to provide, we're all seeing things at the supermarket. Things are in short supply. Here, the people who are behind the table are the people who are raising the beef, pork, chicken, cheese, butter, making the bread, preparing the peanut butter, and growing the fruits and vegetables. We needed to make sure that we kept them in business, as well as gave immediate access to our local residents and our surrounding communities. So there'll be one way in. You'll come into the Bushy Street lot. If you go on our social media, we'll be unveiling these plans over the course of the next 20 days, because we do launch. We are open. June 20th is our opening day, and we go all the way to October 24th. We are closed 4th of July weekend. But there's one way in, one way out. All of our vendors have the ability to pre-order, so you can pre-order and just come to the market and pick it up. Each vendor will also have to have 2 individuals at their booth, one to handle the produce or whatever food item it is, and another one to handle payment. That's why having the pre-orders is really helpful. You won't be able to come into the market and pick your perfect tomato this year. You can point at the one you might like, but unfortunately, we can't have people rummaging through the bins, looking, picking their individual ears of corn and things like that. So it'll be a little bit, it's going to be an adjustment for a lot of people when they like to come in and be able to pick that perfect tomato. You just kind of like the old candy stores. You have to go in, yeah, I'll have that lollipop, and I'll have that whistle over there, or things like that. That's just how it has to be for now. One of the things that I do appreciate with our health department is they recognize that things are rapidly changing, especially in this kind of a circumstance. And so hopefully as things start to loosen up, we might be able to bring back some of those other services. We might be able to bring back the food trucks and things like that on a very slow basis. Also, everyone at market is essential. So unfortunately, all of our value-added vendors, like the crafters and things like that, they will not be in attendance. So when we would normally have 50 to 60 vendors a week, we're now going to be around 25, maybe 30 a week instead. We will have chalk lines on the ground for social distancing. Only one customer is allowed in the booth at any given time. So we will have those hash marks. We'll also have a second, like a racetrack, if you will. So when you come in and you don't want to go to the first vendor, you just hop over and make your way around. We are limited to how many people can actually be in the market at any given time. However, the numbers that we were given by the fire chief are pretty much the same as what a normal half-hour count would be during a regular market day. So I wouldn't expect too much in lines and things like that, but hopefully, everyone will be patient and be willing to kind of figure out this new normal, for temporary new normal for us, so that we can, the last thing I want is to have to be shut down because we're not following the policies and procedures. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. And I very much appreciate the strategic value of having the farmers market and having sort of these local food sources available to residents. It's incredibly important. So thank you for.
Well, and you and I have talked a lot about food stability. Like Rep. Hawkins spoke about earlier, we are doing another food drive next weekend on Saturday and Sunday. I volunteer a lot for the Hebron Food Pantry, and I see it every single time I'm there. The great need that we have in our community to help our neighbors find the food and get the food that they need. And this is just another way that farmers market's helping kind of bridge that gap for everybody.
So June 20th is the first day it opens at
Yes.
Conway Field, so no change from last year.
O'Connell Field in the middle of Cape Run Park.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much, Heather. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Todd. Always.
And last but certainly not least, we have Steve Withers Jr. Steve.
Todd, thank you.
Welcome.
A few updates tonight. First, amazingly, we're at the end of the school year almost. When we started these back in March and we were talking about being out of school for first a month and then for the rest of the school year, it seemed like such a long haul that we would never get through. As a parent of two, it certainly has been a long haul teaching our children as well, but we're almost there. We have another week of remote learning this week. And then on this Friday coming up, students are going to receive their last remote learning plan. They're going to receive 2 weeks of learning plans as well as a packet of summer enrichment activities. And the reason that they're doing this is that over the next 2 weeks after that, students will be returning the Chromebooks that were borrowed. And that includes 5th and 9th graders who received Chromebooks this year as part of our attempts to get to a one-to-one technology system. So all Chromebooks are going to be returned over the last 2 weeks of school, which start June 8th. And you should be receiving emails and communications from your schools with the days and times that you are to return your Chromebooks. So again, this Friday, look for that final 2 weeks of enrichment opportunities and learning opportunities, and then some summer things to do as well. The big, news for tonight that I know a lot of people have been waiting for is about graduation. As Representative Hawkins mentioned earlier, this past Friday, we had a great event where we had kind of a car parade for our seniors where they went around to the different schools in their cars and, were able to be celebrated. I think we all realize, especially when we stop and think about it, how much our seniors this year have really been robbed of a normal high school experience. It started in the fall with Triple E and, missing Friday night football games, and it continued on into the spring and no prom, no third trimester, and then now, of course, unfortunately, no normal graduation. And one of the questions that we immediately started to get as soon as we realized that school was going to be canceled for the rest of the year and how much of an impact the virus was going to have on our everyday life was what's going to happen with high school graduation. And so Principal Rooney with a couple members of the school committee, several members of the senior class, staff from the public schools, and families as well, have got together to try and come up with a plan as to what the best way to celebrate the seniors would be. And in doing so, they really came up with 3 possibilities that would make sense. The first was that we would do a virtual graduation, which is what the majority of districts in Massachusetts are doing. Second would be that we wait and see and hope that sometime in mid to late July or August, the social distancing requirements lessen significantly enough that we can have a normal graduation at the high school. Or third, we do something now with something as in person as possible. And that's what was settled on, and I'll explain the plan in a minute, but essentially what the students that were part of this said is the most important thing that they wanted to see was they wanted to walk across the stage. They wanted that experience of walking across the stage, getting a diploma passed to them while their loved ones could see them and see that happen. They also wanted to, as much as possible, do that at the Attleboro High School if that was feasible. And so the plan that was settled on, we didn't create the idea, it's been done in a couple other communities, is a sort of rolling graduation where students will be in their cars with their families, and there'll be a staging area. Most likely will be at the new parking area at Highland on Rathenow Drive. And then in phases, the cars will drive towards the high school. And as they get to the high school, students will be let out of the cars in groups with social distancing. The cars will loop around following the students. And so when the students go up on the stage and get their diploma, they will, the cars will be right in front of where the stage is to be able to take pictures. So it's not the normal extravagant experience in front of a stadium full of hundreds of people, but at least your family's there to take pictures and see that happen. Speeches by the mayor, superintendent, principal, valedictorian, salutatorian will be pre-recorded and be made available to the students and families to view. That's getting worked out about where that will be, when, how that specifically will be delivered to the families, but they will be done and will be able to be viewed by the families. We realize that certainly is not an ideal or perfect scenario for our graduates or their families, but we took their wishes to heart, and I think we realized that no matter what we decided to do this year, it wasn't going to be satisfactory for everyone. The fact of the matter is, in Attleboro, we have a lot of students that go into the military, and what a lot of people don't realize is those commitments often start in early July, late June, early July. So even delaying it a month, we would lose a significant amount of our senior class would be able to participate. And so we wanted to do something that would be as inclusive as possible. And so that's how we settled on this. I think we're comfortable that it's the best decision we could make with the reality that we face. And we're happy to explain our thinking to people who might have concerns. But overall, the general consensus has been more positive than not.
Perfect. Did you say, is there a date specified yet or not yet?
Yeah, it's June 11th.
June 11th? Oh, wow. That's coming up quick.
It's coming up. So we are currently scrambling in logistic mode, trying to figure out all the logistics of getting all those students and cars in a line to get them up on the stage in an orderly fashion while maintaining appropriate social distancing and all that good stuff.
How many graduates do we have roughly?
It's usually around 400.
Okay. Wow.
So I'm not sure the exact number, but it's probably somewhere in between 360 and 390, I would guess, this year.
Okay. Wow. All right. Anything else?
Nothing from me on the school front. We're used to this by now, unfortunately, and ready for the summer.
Yeah. Yep. I'm ready for distance learning to be done for my kids for the summer, at least.
Me as well.
Distance learning.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps us up for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It was a real pleasure hearing especially from each of the different businesses. Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we close it out? Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Todd. Have a good one.
And hey, for any of the businesses, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to any of the elected officials on here, myself, Rep. Hawkins, Senator Feeney, or reach out to Jack Lank of the Chamber of Commerce. We're all in this together. We're all supportive of everything you guys do and want you to be successful. So if there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Senator Feeney gave you his email. I didn't give you mine. If you want mine to send me information on what you're doing to come back into business, it's james.hawkins@mahouse.gov.
Perfect. Anything you guys need, happy to help, and good luck. All right. That does it.
Todd, thank